So if anybody has any questions? Yeah. Go ahead.
Is there any, I mean, you kind of hinted at this, any indication that this was a potential suicide by cop situation?
Well, it was either he was simply looking to kill a cop or he was looking to kill himself. Not really sure. Obviously, we were not able to figure that out definitively. But there is information from the investigation that shows he's been wanting to actually kill a police officer for some time.
Did his mother give any indication into his background as to why he had these feelings?
Well, of course, are you asking me about mental health, essentially? Is that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's mental health or drugs or anything.
Yeah, I believe it may have been a combination of all of those things. We can't know exactly what was in his mind. His mother did say he was troubled, that possibly he had some mental health issues. Of course, our officers couldn't possibly know that as they were responding, but that's certainly a possibility, a strong possibility.
Had he ever been in any sort of mental health or drug counseling previously?
I'm not aware of whether he has or not.
Do officers know at this time how he obtained the gun?
We don't, but we are looking at that. We have some folks focused on trying to figure out the genesis of that weapon.
Does it have a serial number that's registered to someone, or was it filed down?
I'm not sure whether it had a serial number or not, but we're looking into that. We're specifically trying to figure out where that gun came from.
And at the beginning of the news conference, you showed a police report. Can you reiterate what that was about with regards to him having homicidal feelings towards police?
Right. The Alameda County Sheriff's Department had issued a bulletin on February 1st regarding him making statements when they had some interactions with their sheriff's deputies about wanting to kill a police officer. And so they sent that out in February as a warning or as an alert to all local law enforcement agencies.
What was the reason for their contact with him? I mean, I'm sure they didn't just walk up to him on the street and chat.
I don't have that information, I'm sorry.
After the initial, the officer shot the suspect. Did the suspect fall on top of the gun? Was that the initial thought that he was on top of the gun?
So in the last confrontation, when Officer Alsop and Officer Taylor shot him, that's when he went down on top of the gun.
And so you guys weren't able to see the weapon at first, correct?
No, at first, if you watch the video, at first, the officers spotted the gun on the ground within or close to within his reach. They were specifically warning him not to reach for the weapon. And instead he did. He reached for it. He lifted it up. He pointed it. It appears in the video that he actually was able to fire it 2 times before the officers were able to disable him.
And you guys deployed the canine, is that correct?
Yeah, after the fact, after the second shooting with Officer Alsop and Officer Taylor, after that shooting, we backed off. We wanted to make a very safe approach. He obviously had intentions to kill us. So at that point, we didn't know if he was actually incapacitated or could he possibly have been playing possum. That's something that many of us have seen in the past. So they slowed down. They brought up the armored rescue vehicle. They deployed the canine in part to see if he would react. Could he possibly be faking it? Would he react? But also to try and drag him a little bit to see if they could get a visual on the weapon before they moved up. Although they were able to drag him a bit and saw that he wasn't reacting to the canine, they weren't able to drag him off the gun, so they went ahead and created a plan to walk up as a group and then took him into custody.
Do you think he was playing possum when Alsop and Taylor pulled up?
He didn't.
When they
It's
said,
possible. It's very possible. They certainly gave him an opportunity to give up. He initially raised his hands up, looked like he might give up, but instead, despite their warnings, he lunged over, picked up that weapon, and fired it at them. So that is a possibility. That's why we don't rush in at that moment. We stay back behind cover for our own safety.
do we know why he was at Washington Hospital, that area? Had he been in the hospital
No,
prior?
we do not. We do not know why he was there. Yes.
Is this all dash cam video or is any of this body cam video?
So the last video you saw was body cam video.
Okay. What
All-
about Officer LeBou's body camera?
Yes, all of the officers had body cam video, but unfortunately because of the placement of the body cam video, and I'm sure you've seen this in other videos before, because of the positioning of their arms when they reached forward to point their weapons, all you see is visuals of their arms, or in Officer Taylor and Officer Alsop's case, the back of the door, because they were hiding behind the door for cover.
Just to clarify, we do get feedback from the public, and
Sure.
I got a few questions of, did they try any de-escalation tactics at all? When LeBou did the U-turn, came back, was there any opportunity there for him to de-escalate the situation? Was the guy retreating at all?
So-
Or was he fully armed and engaged in?
So at that moment, the proper response for Officer LeBou was to confront him. He first created distance, which was a fantastic decision. He created distance. He stepped out of his vehicle once he was able to see him. He told him to get on the ground. He provided him an opportunity to get on the ground. He didn't just come out and start shooting him, but he armed himself with his department-issued rifle. And then when the suspect didn't comply and raised the gun at him, the proper reaction for a police officer in that case is to return fire.
And there were pedestrians in that area as well, right?
Yeah, it's quite a busy area. Washington Hospital happened to be, it was close to shift change time, so people were walking around the area at the time. There was paramedics out and about. There were several witnesses. So yes, it was a busy time of night.
And was he found to be under the influence of anything?
So the toxicology report isn't back yet.
How old did you say he was again, Chief?
Pardon me?
30? Was he
He's
30?
30 years old,
Okay.
yeah. Take one last question if anybody has one. Go ahead.
I was going to ask anything else about him, any other survivors aside from his mother that we need to know about, his family, his background, is he from here?
Yeah, I don't have that information for you at this time, I'm sorry.
Do you know what he did for a living?
I do not.